Nice.
So this is going to be part two. Remember part one?
Yeah.
And I think you're kind of an inspiration, and maybe you can use this for your coaching things in the future, is what I was thinking as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to kind of ask you about your whole process, kind of what worked, what didn't work, what you're doing now, and what words of inspiration you would have for others. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. My name is Dr. Donald Pelto, and I have Joe Angelico here. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This is part two. So if you guys want to listen to the previous interview, I'll put it underneath this one here in the description. But Joe, we've been friends for a while, and he's been on a long journey with his health. I think with his more so health than weight. I think weight is part of it, but I think a lot of it is health. So, Joe, tell me like about your former self. I don't know, was that 5 years ago that when this journey started, and what were you like then?
Well, so 5 years ago, I was probably right around almost 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struggling with diabetes. When I first got diagnosed with diabetes back in 2011, my A1C was 13.4, which if you take that as fasting, that is 338 as an average. So yes, I did what I had to do and got, on a diet, but I saw my numbers just keep struggling. And 5 years ago, I'd break 7, then I'd go right back up. I'd go back up to 8. And it was, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was on insulin, and I was heavy, and I was eating kind of whatever I wanted to eat. I was eating a lot of carbs, a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugars. And my wife and I, we were all about trying trying different diets. And, we do the diabetic diet. We would do belly fat cure. And it struggled. I tell you, it was so bad. I just, we went and bought this no sugar soda from the belly fat cure recommended. We went.
So tell me about the belly fat cure. Okay, so is this a fad thing, or is this a website, or what is it?
No, it's a book called The Belly Fat Cure.
Okay.
And we reread the book, and we were doing, it has recipes in it, so we would follow the recipes, but a lot of it is you were still eating carbs, and you did have.
So smaller quantities, is that all? What calorie restriction, is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a calorie restriction diet. It was also a low sugar diet.
Okay, which are both good things.
Yeah, and I did lose some weight. I think I knocked off like 10, 15 pounds, but it was just, I'm not into counting stuff.
Yep.
And I just can't sit there and go, all right, yeah, well, I can only have 12 more carbs today. And
I didn't like that either.
Then turn around and look at the back of a package and go, oh, well, this one's got 15, can't eat that. So when I came into your office that day and you said to me, I got a book. Well, first you set us on
Bright Line Eating.
Bright Line Eating, which, believe it or not, her mother still does. And I read the audio. I listened to the audiobook, and I was just like, not another fad. I can't. I get what they were saying, about how addictive sugar is, and when they used the analogy of sugar versus cocaine, and they had the rats and they were doing.
There were some good examples in that book. I've kind of progressed too. That was a book that I recommended a lot, and then my recommendations changed, as you saw. So
yeah, and then once you recommended Dr. Fung's books, the Complete Guide to Fasting and the Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code. I'll tell you what, I listened to the audiobooks, and that right there, I'm like, I can do that. I can do it. I know I can. Fasting, I mean, come on. You go to bed, you don't eat, you wake up in the morning and you maybe not have breakfast, and then you have lunch, and wow, I just did a 16-hour fast. So I got on that right away and just started doing, 16/8, and then I would move into a 24 here and there. I got my body used to it. And I was always one that was big on getting on the scale. I would get on the scale and I'd look and I'd see, oh, I lost 2 pounds. I lost 10 pounds. And I was never really happy with what I would lose because, and I'd sit there and go, all right. And then as soon as I'd stop doing it, I'd put some weight back on and I'd be like, I'm not doing this anymore.
It was like up and down, that whole.
I was getting frustrated.
Yo-yo. Mm-hmm.
And then I said, you know what? Dr. Fung talks about, non-scale victories, not getting on the scale.
Your pants, your pants or your sizes and things.
So all I did was I just got in front of the mirror and took a picture and I said, this is what I look like. This is not what I'm going to look like when this is over with. And I'll tell you, I started fasting and I still fast today. And I'm doing, I do 16/8, I'm doing 24s. I haven't really done anything bigger than that. I mean, I did back then, I did do a couple of 5 days and reset myself. And I'll tell you, the benefits are amazing.
Yeah. When we talked, when you were really into it, you were on multiple day fasts for a long time. And I think a lot of us, it's kind of like a pendulum. Like we're so excited about it and we're like, go over here. And then we kind of find a happy medium. I'm that same way. What are you doing now? Like, what did you do and what are you doing now?
So right now I'm doing, like, I fasted all day yesterday and then I ate last night. And last night I just had a protein packed meal. I had steak, chicken, and broccoli. That's what I had for dinner. I eat till I'm full. I don't overeat. And because even if you read what Dr. Fung tells you, he tells you right away not to overeat, because you're not solving the problem if you're going to overeat, even if you're eating, tons and tons of protein. My body adjusts well to protein. So as soon as I eat protein, I notice that if I take my sugars, because I have one of those Freestyle Libres, if I take my fasting and I look at it before I eat, and let's say I'm like 117, which puts you in the range of like 5.8, 5.9. And then I eat and I have a nice protein meal, my sugar will drop, which is terrific. But if I turn around and I eat 2 chips, I'll go up to like 175. So I like to try to keep myself very consistent. I don't really, the carbs I get from vegetables, other than I won't eat fruits. I don't like to, because they have sugars in them. I stay away from breads. I stay away from carbs. I try to really limit everything processed food. And right now, as far as, what I drink water. I drink black coffee. I love black tea, unsweetened black tea. I do drink seltzer water, but I don't drink anything in it. I usually just get a lemon or a lime and throw it in there.
Yeah.
And I like the unsweetened stuff. It's good.
When did you get off your insulin, and how was that in the conversations with your doctors?
So I actually got a brand new endocrinologist. My primary care doctor, she's really not fantastic. Amola Daniels. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic with just the primary care stuff, but she's not really into how to control diabetes. So she set me up with a really good endocrinologist. And the first thing I said to her, I mentioned this, I do this and I fast. And she's like, oh, good. I was like, really? I'm like, because not a lot of doctors.
Was that Nina?
No, her name is Dr. Chitamoji.
Wow. It's good to know some new ones in the community that agree
I'll send you her information. She's awesome. She is like, so basically she asked me why I wasn't on insulin. And I explained it to her.
You stopped on your own.
Right. And they right there in their office, they'll do a finger prick, and they have a little machine where they take the chip and they put it in, and it tells you your A1C right there. So she immediately did it, and she's like, "Oh, okay, 5.7." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." She's like, "Okay, so you're doing this on your own. You're good." And a lot of it is, I can tell you that my former primary care doctor, she was really about, as long as I contacted her and made sure that I was in communication with her, that she would be like, "Okay, so you want to drop down on your insulin? You want to go this much? Okay, let's try it, see how it goes. But if it goes back up, I want you to take and go back up to, 5 milliliters." And she let me do what I had to do. And with the fact that my wife's a nurse, that kind of made them have a little bit of an ease to all of this. And, the fasting, when I hit the 5-day fast, which my new endocrinologist was like, "You did a what fast?" And I said, "Yeah, I did a 5-day reset." And she's like, "And what medicines were you on?" I said, "Well, at the time I was on Jardiance." I said I was on Trulicity, and I was taking insulin. I was taking.
You did insulin at that time?
Yeah. And she's like, "And can I ask what happened?" I said, "Well, after day 2, the insulin was gone." I said, "And then once I hit day 3, the Jardiance was gone." And she's like, "Okay, so can I ask you why you got off the Jardiance?" I said, "Well, here's the problem." I said, Jardiance is one of those drugs that you take that helps you alleviate the sugar through urination. I said, "So that can create a lot of problems." I said, "If my sugars start to drop too low." I said, and that's what was happening. I said, I was finding out that I was in the 50s and 60s, and I was consistently staying there, and I got off of it. And as soon as I took myself off of it, I noticed that I was right around 100, consistently staying that way. I said, and I stayed on the Trulicity through the 5-day fast. I said, and once I was completely reset, and then I went and I had my A1C done, I said, and I noticed at that time I was 5.8. I said, and I said, "That's it. I'm going to get off the Trulicity." So I got off of everything except for metformin, and I will never get off of metformin because it has other kinds of benefits to it.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of the life hackers, they just buy it and they take it, right?
Yeah.
So there are what are those benefits? So teach me,
So
what are the other benefits?
one of the benefits is, if you're looking to, what I was reading a couple weeks ago was, it's all about aging.
Yeah.
And it helps with aging. So that's the one big thing. It talks about how it can, help prolong your life.
You're like on what, 1,000 milligrams once a day?
Yeah. So granted, it's still in a study phase, so it's not something that you're going to see, okay, well, my wife can go get metformin. No, that's not going to happen.
I learned it. I think I learned it from Tim Ferriss. He talks a lot about that stuff, about metformin. Wow. Okay, so just for people that are listening, okay, don't do what
without a doctor.
You talk to your doctor about it, okay, but don't do what Joe did. But it's just an example of how fasting, you can really get off your insulin with it. Now tell me a little bit about what are for those that can't do it. What do you think is the issue? Carbohydrates? Is it number of meals? What do you think?
I think I think a couple of different things. I think carbs is a big thing. And a lot of people, it's about sugar. It's sugar. Carbs break down into sugar, and you have sugar. Sugar is a very highly addictive, and I won't say drug, but you might as well put it that way. I think that's one of the problems, is that processed foods. And a lot of people sit there and go, "But I like my pizza." Well, a lot of carbs. You got sugar in the sauce. For me, if I eat a piece of pizza, I'm in the 200s.
So let's talk about how you live with this. Do you any fat bombs, those like peanut butter type of things? Do you do any, are you just so disciplined you don't even miss it?
Nope.
Things like
that. I cannot eat fat bombs because I get a stomach ache.
Okay.
It just, no. So for me, I'm so in such a routine
Mhm.
where, like, I can go to, for example, I can go to Applebee's and I can get a steak with broccoli, and I am completely satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I have they actually have a burger named after me.
With lettuce,
It's
a
called
lettuce
the,
burger.
it's called the Joe Burger. No, it's actually so basically what it is it's three patties, 4 eggs on
Wow.
top of each other with lettuce, onions, and mushrooms and pico de gallo.
Wow.
That's my burger. That's if I'm like really want some serious protein, that's my protein.
Love
And
it.
I'll tell you, it doesn't bother my sugar one bit. It
Yeah.
does not go up. It actually drops. I'll come home and I'll be like, yeah, oh, well, I started at 130. I'm now down to 110. So, back to the question of what I think the other problem is. I think that, if people don't read or at least understand about fasting,
Yeah.
um, they'll get to the point where, okay, they'll say, oh, I think I can do it. I think I can, not eat for a day. And then all of a sudden they get a headache and that stops them. They're like, oh my God, I got this real massive headache. Well, there are things in the book that help you, put some salt in your drink and, do you have enough magnesium in your system? Those types of things.
Or
And
when
for
you eat, you get diarrhea. Come on, all of us get diarrhea when we go a couple of days and then you eat. It's all those things are normal,
Yeah, and I think for the struggling thing for people who, I had posted on Facebook about my weight loss journey, and my father posted, and he's like, it takes a lot of willpower, and you had the willpower. It really does. For somebody to want to actually do this, you really got to sit down and say to yourself, am I going to make this lifestyle change?
Yeah.
I decided to do the lifestyle change and not go back. I mean, during the pandemic, I fell off the wagon a little bit, but it's easy to pick yourself right back up and get back on it. And I got my A1C done December 4th, 5th, something like that. And I'm 5.7. And she was just like, oh. She made me go every month. I just met her in September, and she made me go September, October, November. And, I had already had all my appointments set up. I come to see you, and I had my eye doctor appointment set up. And, she's like, oh, you already got all your 1-year appointments all set up. Oh, you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, I'll see you in a year. Okay. And she's like, whoa, I'll see you in 3 months. I'm like, why are you going to see me in 3 months? She's like, well, I want to do your A1C again. I said, all right, whatever. That's fine. I'll go. She can take my A1C. It'll still be the same. I know to the T what my numbers are. That's,
And,
and a lot of it, I have that Freestyle Libre.
Yeah.
I just got the Freestyle Libre 2 with the low, it has the low number alarm on it. It has a high alert alarm. It also has when the Libre, if you're away from your phone, like say I'm outside or something and my phone's in the house, it'll actually, if my watch is on, my Apple Watch, if I have that on, it'll alert me and it'll come across my watch and it'll say, you lost contact with Freestyle Libre, with your app. Okay, that's fine.
Now that's something insurance covers for you?
Yeah, insurance covers it as a diabetic. You just have, huh? Yeah. Even non-diabetics, I think if you get a prescription,
you can just buy it. Yep.
You can
I know a lot of people, they just buy them because having that knowledge is power, especially like you said, what foods raise and lower your blood sugar level.
I know right to the T.
Yeah.
And I'll know, like I knew when I went into my endocrinologist office, I knew exactly what my A1C was going to be. I even said it to her. Before she finger pricked me, I went 5.7. She's like, how do you know I'm going to be 5.7? I said, oh, I have a calculator. I said, I do the calculator. I said, I have my average numbers. I said, which I take over 90 days. I said, and then I look at my fasting number. I put it in the calculator. I said the A1C calculator, and it comes out. I said, and it's pretty accurate. And she's like, okay, well, we'll see. And she went in, she came back, and she's like, yeah, 5.7. I'm like, yeah, 5.7. I'm like, I knew when I was 6.4. I said, I knew when I was going down and I was 6.1. I said, I know. And I said, one of the things, and I told her, I said, one of the things that I know to the T, I said, I'll know what it's going to do to my body. I said, and this really helps. So I won't let her go and change. Or you're pre-diabetic now. No, don't touch anything. Leave it alone. I know I've not reversed it. It's in remission, but I want to keep it so I can continue to get my Freestyle Libre.
Correct. So I think in terms of the reversing, I think you did reverse it. You could, if you didn't have the other longevity benefits of metformin, you would, if it was insulin you're on, you would have stopped it. And but there's other benefits to the metformin. And that's great for those that are listening, because I've talked to a lot of my patients, and I think the struggle is I think you almost have an identity shift.
Yeah.
And there's no going back. And I think for a lot of patients, it's that decision fatigue. Like it's a lot harder to choose 3, 4, 5 eating episodes than it is one eating episode a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, and so I think that's the benefit of fasting. I think you could do the same with eating low carb, right? But you're still spiking a little bit. And I think it's the decision fatigue that helps a lot of us, is that one meal a day. And where I fall off, and not that I'm diabetic at all, but like that one meal a day, what I try to do now, and I keep playing games with it, is Monday through Friday, I tend to do like a keto,
mm-hmm.
right? And I eat well. And then the weekends, I enjoy myself. But what I find now is I'm still doing one meal a day, Monday through Friday. But I find when I switch to the weekend back to the one meal a day keto, I almost go like into almost withdrawal. Like I go to bed and I'm full, but I miss my sugar. I want to eat something sweet. Like I went through the holidays of like Thanksgiving and Christmas is coming, and I don't have insulin. I don't have diabetes. And so I just enjoy what I call enjoy myself. But what that means and what that does to me is I get super tired. Mm-hmm. I get irritable. And then for the next 3 or 4 days, I have such a craving for sugar. There's no, that's just my experience. I don't know. Were you ever like that? Or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, for me, eating sugar, everybody's like, oh yeah, you have sugar. You don't get a rush? No, I don't. I'm a diabetic, and I'd eat sugar and I would get tired.
Yeah.
Like my sugar would be super high and I'd be like super groggy. And I knew. I used to, when I first started out, I had no idea. I mean, my sugars were, 300s, and I had I'd sit there and go, oh boy. And I was always tired. Be at work, I'd be tired. But now I have tons of, I have tons of energy. It's just, I kind of I don't stop. And that's a good thing, because that's just who I am. I don't stop. And you look at what high sugar does for you. And when you eat a lot of sugar, it's going to make you feel groggy. It's going to make you feel weird. I mean, so I feel better when I eat protein, believe it or not. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better when I eat, just if I have vegetables. Yeah. My body feels better. I feel, and I also get pumped when I'll look like I was fasting a couple weeks ago for a couple days, and I had gone over to my parents' house, and my mother's like, are you losing more weight? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, I'm tightening. And she's like, what do you mean you're tightening? I said, you notice my face? I said, I'm just tightening it up a little.
Autophagy. Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, okay, whatever. And she didn't have an idea what I was doing. But then I looked in the mirror and I went, yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm like, all right, cool. So that really, I mean, if you're somebody who has never really had, success as far as losing weight, take the picture at the beginning, do a side-by-side comparison along the way, and let it kind of give you get you pumped up. Yeah. I mean, you see, I mean, don't stand on the scale every 5 minutes and think that it's going to happen because, oh my God, the first week I lost 10 pounds. I lost a lot of water weight, and then all of a sudden I lost 1 pound. Well, mood's going to go from here to, uh-oh. So it's like, for me, that's what was happening. And now it's the mirror. I stand in front of the mirror.
Me too.
I don't wait. I don't, take a tape measure and measure my body, because when I stand in the mirror, I see the changes.
Yep.
I used to have a massive gut. I used to have 3 chins. It was pretty bad, and I felt awful. I would go walk up and down stairs, and I'd get up the stairs and I'd be breathing, like heavy breathing. And now I'm fine. I feel great. I mean, I can walk 3-4 miles with my dogs, and I enjoy it. And they don't walk slow. They like to try to outwalk me, and one tries to pull in front of me, and they're not pulling me, but I like to, we do, like the other day we went for an uphill 3-mile walk, and they were good. They were right alongside me, and everything was great. I got home, and every time I set goals. Every time I go out and I walk, I set goals. I say to myself, okay, even with my dogs. I mean, when I was really into power walking and stuff, I could walk a 9-minute mile. Where runners can run 6-minute miles, I would walk a 9-minute mile. And that didn't matter if I was going up or downhill or flat or whatever. So now I set a goal, and I go, okay, so I'm with my dogs and I'm doing, 12-minute miles or 13-minute miles. Today I'm going to beat that. And I try to beat it. And like the other day, I think I did like 14-minute miles, which was good. And I can say the same thing about fasting, say the same thing about weight loss.
Yeah.
You'll get to know your body as you start losing weight. But if you don't mind finger pricking and you can't get a freestyle Libre, finger prick. Do it 3-4 times a day. See what foods affect your body.
Yeah.
You want to take a look. I mean, my wife is a raw data person. She loves this stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's the one who's been the most supportive for me. And she's not a diabetic, and she has a freestyle Libre, and she loves it. She'll be like, I just had some nuts. Look what they did to me. And she'll know. And she'll be like, I went from the 70s into the 90s. And she'll be like, oh, I'm at 105. Like, we went to my sister's house, and it was my nephew's birthday. And they go to this place called the Bean Counter, and they get these bun cakes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are good.
And so she got a bun cake. And of course, my wife had a small slice. It wasn't very big, but it literally took her sugars into like the 140s. And she's not a diabetic. So, and she knew it. Huh? For 2 days. Yeah, for 2 days. It was like that. She was just saying it was for 2 days.
Yeah.
So, and she's really the person who, when it came to the support and everything, and really, she would constantly say to me, what's your numbers? Okay, check it. Oh, that's good. All right. So what did you eat? Okay, check it. What's your numbers? And I got to the point where I started into it, repetition. It was good. I will happen to say that this is something that, as you and I talked about, I am going to become a health coach. I am going to go to school for it, because there is actually a school out there, Primal Health Institute, that, if you ever heard of the Primal Health Kitchen, the products, they're a school that is all about intermittent fasting. They're all about keto and holistic foods and whole foods.
Perfect.
Well, I'm like, wow, this is a win-win. I'm like, I can do this and get they're go and get a national certificate and be certified. So it's 20 weeks. It's 1 chapter a week. It's not believe it or not, it's actually not a pass-fail course. You take the test. If you fail it, they go over the answers with you, and you do it again. And you just go until you get your certificate. And they, obviously, if you take the national certificate, which is a national certificate, you have to pass the course. So you want to just do what you got to. I mean, I haven't been in school in a long time. So this is going to be new. I mean, granted, we
Yeah,
would at
but
work.
it's nice that you're living it, and it's nice because some of those other programs about health coaches, they want to teach you about all the different types, but you're pretty set on this is the type that you worked for you and works the best, in my opinion as well.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these places, you have to teach everything, and whatever works for you, whatever fits into your life. And I'm like, I can't in good conscience tell that to people.
No.
Like, I can't tell people to eat 3 or 4, like that whole 6 small meals a day thing, where you bring, who has time for that?
I can't get on the, like, when I was in the hospital back getting my toe done, and they were pushing carbs on me.
I know. In the hospital,
like, you want to eat 60, you want to have a minimum of 60 carbs a day. And I'd be like, a meal. And I'd be like, no. I'm like, no, forget it. And my wife would go get me food. I'd be like, no, I don't want anything. Leave me alone. And she'd come back and I'd have like a steak and cheese without the bread. And I'd have peppers and onions on it. And can I eat? And I was okay to eat whatever I wanted, but I was just like, no. And they push that stuff.
They do. They do.
So
and, yeah. Oh, you're an inspiration. And I have these conversations. I haven't had too many this year, but I've had a handful now of patients that have opted and learned about it. And I think the ones that do really well, the ones that take personal accountability, like what you did, because I can recommend stuff, but I can't make people do stuff. That's what you're going to find that as a coach. You'll be like, hey, if you want to do it, you can do it. I'll guide you here, but you can't push people to do it. But this is what works. This is what works. Cool. Well, what if you could give someone, if you were talking to your 5-year-old 5 years ago self, and knowing what you know now, what are three things that you would tell them?
I think the first thing I would tell them is get the little Freestyle Libre, believe it or not, or try to get something to
see how food affects you.
See what foods affect you in certain ways. The second would be, believe it or not, don't step on the scale. Because that's going to make you either really feel good or really feel bad. It's not an in-between thing. So have those non-scale victories. Look in the mirror. And I think the third thing would be understand that when you finally decide that you're going to cut out and cut down on your sugar and your carbs, it's not easy. It's not. And it's a serious process. So reach out to, like, for example, if it was me and it was 5 years ago and I didn't have my wife, I would have been leaning all over the internet as far as like his Dr. Fung's
that fasting method, Facebook group and stuff like that.
Because, I leaned on my wife. I'd be like, wow, this is crazy. The hunger, the headaches, the wanting sugar. To me, it's worse than quitting smoking or saying I'm not going to drink anymore. That's the hardest thing.
Wow. You said it all right there. Yeah.
It is. It's the hardest thing. It's, I will tell you, I struggled, back in the day, when our parents, they didn't have all these issues because they didn't snack. There wasn't as much processed food out there. You didn't have the FDA and all that pushing, here's the diet that you need to do. And they sat there and obesity wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So I think those three things. I think get yourself something that's going to help you understand what foods do what to your body, stay off the scale, have those non-scale victories, and understand that when you decide to embark on this journey, first of all, it's got to be a lifestyle change. And
it's not a 3-month change or a 1-month change.
It's not I'm going to just do it and that's it. Or I'm going to do it and go back to doing what I was doing, because you go back to doing what you're doing,
you go back to 300
back to where you were. So
cool. Well, Joe, inspirational. I'll put your whenever you give your contact information about your coaching, I'll put it underneath in the description here. So thank you. Awesome. Thanks for your time, buddy.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.